everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Self-Published Success, a show that highlights forward-thinking authors who chose self-publishing over traditional and found success in doing so. My name is John Feldman, founder and CEO of Visionary Literary, and your host for today's show. Our guest today is Rita Ezenwa-Okoro. Rita is a creative culturist, a performance activist, author, and communications expert who believes in creative arts as a force for human development. Her book, Doing, Being, Becoming for the Love of the Creative Arts, which is available on Amazon, highlights her passion for what she does. In her spare time, she's also a nonprofit founder, executive director, world traveler, and singer. Rita, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, John. I'm so glad to be here.
And we are glad to have you. So, one thing that I will say that I would ask you to, I guess, expand upon is that I very briefly introduced you and everything that you do outside of the book. So please tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about, and then what led you to want to write your book.
First of all, I think I would start with the fact that I believe that the world can and will be a better place when people are exposed and do what they love. So I'm really very, very passionate about helping young people and older people alike to discover their passions and align their passions with um, their career path and the economics of things, so that at the end of the day, they can make a sustainable living doing what they love. I really think that people will blossom when they're able to find that mesh between what they love and their income stream. Um, by so doing, they can think about how to make the world a better place, and they also would have the resources to be able to live the life that they want. And this is what drives my passion for running Street Project Foundation, the organization founded in Nigeria that started out in 2008. And our goal is that we use the creative arts, or our mission is that we use the creative arts to facilitate opportunities for youth leadership development, cross-cultural dialogue, and social mobilization. And we have many manifestations of a lot of our programs, from arts advocacy, using art for advocacy, to creative youth boot camp, to digital Amazons. But at the heart and the core of what we do is the creative arts, of which I love and which my book talks about. And most recently, I became the executive director of the Global Play Brigade, a movement that started out during the COVID pandemic. And it was the response, it was the way the creative community across the world decided to respond to the pandemic and the isolation during that period. And the question was, how can performance activists, clowns, improvisers, educationists, educationalists, therapists, coaches from across the world, how could we come together as a movement to respond to the crisis in the world through play? And we've been in existence for 2 years, and our vision is to make play mainstream, to take play mainstream, because we believe that, play and performance are a formidable force for human development. So in a nutshell, these are the things that I'm driving, amongst other things. I'm also a marketing communications expert, but at the core of everything that I do is the creative arts, and that's the center of what drives the NGO, what drives the movements that I run, and what drives my career as a marketing communications expert.
Good. I love that message. I don't know what it's like where you live, but in the US, the creative arts is like it's like if anyone pursues that path, it's almost as if you're saying like, okay, I'm going to be living on pennies for my entire life, because being part of creative arts means being that penniless artist who just chases, their next sale. So it is nice that you're putting so much effort into this, because again, there are ways to, like you said, make a comfortable living by being a creative artist. I love that. I
I,
love that message.
I couldn't agree more. And I think the exposure that I have gotten as a global fellow of the International Society of the Performing Arts has exposed me to also the challenges of the global north, and to see the similarities, especially as performing artists and creative artists, between our worlds. And that came through for me, because you could be in the corner of the world and then you think that the challenges are only unique to you. But being exposed, I found out that the whole talk about the arts or the performing arts not seen as essential work is central to why you have societies or associations like that to drive that mission. And also why Street Project Foundation and what we do with the creative arts is our response to that as well, to say, creative arts can be used for human development, for mental health development, for career development. There's more to creative arts than art's sake. And these are some of the myths that I try to disrupt, or that I try to, yeah, disrupt in many ways in my book.
Good. That's excellent. So I like going back a few seconds, or about a minute, is that you mentioned your fellowship, and you mentioned it in such a modest way, as if it's just something that happens, that took place. So again, just seeing, already hearing in the first few minutes about your passion for the creative arts, clearly, I mean, it says it in your book's title, and it says it in the titles, the many titles that you have in your professional career. But I do like that. So I want to move into, I want to jump right into your book. Obviously, you and your career, professional career, you are obviously an expert in what you do. So it would have been very easy for you to pitch this idea of your book to a traditional publisher, to somebody who would assist you along the process. But what you did is, instead, that you took your ideas and you wrote your book. So tell us a little bit more about your decision to just write your book in kind of a self-publishing path, rather than to go that, traditional media route.
Yeah, thank you. It's important to state that I really didn't even know that one of the things that I would birth into the world was a book. And now I feel that there are many books inside of me just because I have given birth to one. And it took a community, being a part of a community that believed in what it was that I carry, um, and carried at the time, and saw some depth, or ask the right questions. And that community is the East Side Institute community in New York. I was part of their international class. And it was during that season that I, especially because of the kind of, so it's an international class in social therapeutics, and they believe that, in performing arts and creative arts for human development. So finding a community that aligned with my own belief system was one. And so they also challenged my thinking, ideologies of how I see the world. And um, that started birthing a lot of me, writing my first op-ed, for instance, opinion editorial, because there were people who allowed me have a voice, who allowed me express my voice. And you know how they say, I think there's a saying where, sometimes in the communities where you probably are known, or it's almost like commonplace to have you, they sometimes don't realize how much talent they have around them until you probably travel out, and people outside of the community see your talent, and they affirm what it is that you believed you carried, but not enough for the world. And that inspired me and triggered me and made me have more confidence in my own voice to say, okay, maybe it's time to write a book maybe I have that inside, because I really thought I was going to put out a musical album before even ever thinking about that. So I had to see that inspired, the writing in itself. And I called out to Lois Olsman, who is the co-founder of Eastside Institute and the director. And I said I wanted to write a book. I called out to another wonderful friend of mine who's a volunteer consultant for Street Project Foundation, Andres Marquez Lara. And I was just putting out the word to different people and to different friends in my community. I said, I want to do this. I need your support. I wasn't asking whether for permission to write, but that I needed them in my corner as I write the book. And of course, being able to call people within your community means that you're going to get advice, because they see that you acknowledge, their importance and significance in your life. So Andres shared with me an opportunity to be a part of the Book Creators Program. And it's an online program for writers, and it was a free 10 weeks training to write, and you weren't under any pressure to publish with the New Degree Press with them. So the first thing was to write your first draft. And that community took me through and many other writers through that process of writing our first draft, before exposing us to the opportunity to be able to publish hybrid, which meant that they would help through the entire process, have a whole community help with fundraising, which was the bit that I really didn't like so much. But it was a developmental process, being in the community, to teach me the ropes of actually being able to publish my own book. At the end of the day, at the end of the process, the book is my complete and total intellectual property. But my capacity for marketing, my capacity for writing, my capacity for editing, and having all of it was a whole village, that supported me in making that happen. And at the end of the day, I've got doing, being, becoming for the love of the creative arts, but really a big part of being able to do this was having a community, supportive community, that showed me the ropes, in making that happen.
Good. Well, for anyone who is listening and not watching, Rita just held up a copy of her book. And given the creative arts nature, I think that it is the greatest book cover. It's so fitting for what you're writing about. So it is very, very appealing. But when you look at it, you don't even need to read the title. You just know that it is all about creative arts. So I do love that.
Thank
The
you.
the team component, as you mentioned, is so important because this is a big undertaking. You didn't just write a 30-page ebook. You wrote an actual book. It's 194 pages. It's an actual book. It takes a long time and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of breaking through barriers to actually get that book to its final stage. So what you mentioned is very important. You retain 100% IP control, everything. But you do have this team behind you that was really there to help, be in your corner, support, even if it's just, moral support to cheer you on during the process. That is very important, um,
Yeah.
going into it. So you wrote your book. What happens with it now? What is, I guess, what is, like, now that it's done, it's on Amazon, it's listed. Um, a personal achievement for sure. Like, what, looking back on it, I guess, what was like the most difficult barrier, and then why was it worth it to push through that barrier to get the book out?
I think there are two difficult barriers for me.
Okay.
First was getting started.
Yes, always
Was
tough.
really, yeah, it was getting started. Where do I start from? How do I get the first draft out? And so actually being shown the ropes, a systemic, process of, what, don't even start by writing. First start by absorbing as much information as you can. on YouTube, on TED Talks, on just go out, feel the world, experience the world, don't write. Just being told that. But however, when you get information that triggers, make sure that you're saving a lot of where all that information is coming from, because you're going to need it in your writing. Being told that, and that there is a system that you could use, systems about the openers, the closers, all of that was helpful in just getting started. And the creators book community was just really great in helping to do that. I don't like appendix or referencing.
Yeah, that part's never been fun.
That wasn't fun for me. That was hard. And then meeting a lot of deadlines. I'm more of a last minute person. I think it comes from my marketing communications background of, deadlines. Usually it's always like a week or 2 days or now. I'm used to like that pressure, and I seem to always be at my best during that period. And then you've got deadlines to beat based on, being in a community that's organized on how to get the book published and all of that. So that was tough because I'm not like your usual process person. But by and large, I really loved writing and telling my stories and weaving through that. And it was just beautiful to have editors, development editors around me, proofreaders around me. Editors were all there to guide, and then beta readers as well.
Yes.
Just having people in my community, my youth community, my academic community, my social community, willing to read and then review and get their perspective, that helped in the development of what the book has become. And I think the book is becoming in the world right now. You were talking about what happens next. The book is becoming. The book is having a life of its own. Like you said, the cover in itself is an artwork.
It
It's a
is. It
piece of
really is.
art. Yes, because even that process for me was very, very critical. I didn't want to go with the typical oppose, because it's got a memoir slant to it, but it's
Mm.
really not. At the end of the day, when you read the book, you know that it's really not about me, but I just use my stories as the tool or the driver to sharing my message about the power of the creative arts for human development, to even having original scores for the book for its marketing. Um, right now, it's really trying to make sure that the books get into the hands of as many people as possible and get people reviewing the book so they know more about it. And also, I have a podcast called Online with Rio, which was on a hiatus so that I could focus on the book, and that will be coming back, and I'll be having like my book series conversations with the young people that I work with, and just having real in-depth conversations to break down some of the concepts that have come up with that. And I'm doing a lot of public speaking now. The book is also driving and attracting a lot of that, and I'm on a podcast tour as well, and one of the reasons I'm with you, John.
Good. Well, we are so glad to have you. One final question that I want to ask before we get into where people can find you is who designed your book cover?
Awesome. The book was designed by Chuma
Okay.
and Nagbado, but he's known as Lizard, as in
Okay.
Lizaad, Lizard. He's a genius. His works
Yes.
are available on NFT and
Oh,
also physical form. Yes, so he's a big deal. Yes, and he did a great job interpreting my vision for the book.
yes, for sure. So I'm going to we'll put a link to the Amazon page in the description for anyone listening. You have to check it out. You will know exactly what we're talking about and what I'm gushing over when I first open this up, or when you first open it up, you'll know exactly what we're talking about because the cover is it is incredible. So Rita, you have so many different things going on. Again, I for the sake of time, I left those out in the opening intro, but you are working with various different nonprofits. Again, you have this passion. Where can listeners find you, where would you like to point them?
So I'd like to point them to my website, onlinewithrio.com. That would be online with REO.com. Access to my book, you could access my book on that website. All you have to click is store, and you can get my book, whether it's on Amazon, on Kobo, Seller, wherever you are in the world. You can make a purchase. Barnes and Noble, you can Ingram Spark for bookstore owners. That's the distributor. You can access my book and find out more about me there as well.
Excellent. Well,
And then
Rita,
on social media, Instagram at Lady Rio. That's Lady and REO. And on Facebook, Rita Ezenwa-Okoro, same thing on LinkedIn.
okay, excellent. Well, Rita, thank you so much again. Your book cover we'll continue to talk about, but just everything that you've been doing and how this book helps you, helps your public speaking, helps the nonprofits and everything that you're a part of. We wish you continued success, continued growth with all of that. We look forward to remaining connected, and just wanted to thank you once again for taking the time to come on and speak with us.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
Thanks.